Okay. Let me rewind the video to the start. I've watched this map multiple times through. Some fights as many as 5 times each.
Trying to spot for Fate.
And I wrote down notes for the
it would
fight
be,
with timestamps. And before each major fight, I also wrote down the compositions and respective ultimate charges for each team. And I just wanted to create this video to accompany those notes and bring particular attention visually to things that I saw in the fight, and why South Korea was able to take this fight with relative ease against very strong composition in this meta of quad tank and goats.
First place finish.
So let's get
We're just getting everyone set up, guys. Titan, guys, let's go ahead.
I think it is. We've seen a lot of it, though, in contenders Korea specifically, through China as well. Or the Reinhardt, more likely the Winston, but let's see.
Oh,
showing us some Hammond.
Could be. Okay, looks like we'll be sticking through this. So they will charge out. Taimu is on the Roadhog.
So we see the initial compositions here. Finland with a quad tank, a slight variation from goats, and South Korea running an interesting composition of Pharmacy, Wrecking Ball, Diva as the tanks, Zenyatta, and Widowmaker. So it's an odd composition in that we haven't really seen a lot of Wrecking Ball as the lead dive tank. And South Korea is not really running a dive composition here. You know, Mercy and Zenyatta are commonly seen in dive comps. But with the Pharmacy, it's just going to be Mercy sticking with Pharah, and only these two tanks that really have the ability to get in and out of Finland's death ball with relative ease. And then a Widowmaker is an interesting pick here, especially if they're expecting to go up against a Goats composition. Mainly because the sightlines are not the best for Widowmaker on this particular map, especially if, as we'll see in a second, Finland gets point control. Widowmaker really only has these 2 doors to look through, and with having Diva, Zarya, Reinhardt, Roadhog able to kind of eat the space in those 2 doors, Widow's primary targets of Lucio and Moira are going to be relatively well protected. Let's see how this plays out.
Hey, you can do a lot with the Hog against the Hammond. You can
just
simply grab him.
Finland obviously gets to point first, courtesy of the Lucio speed boost. And
Pile driver coming down from Fate. Getting too much done with that. Getting zapped down below half HP. He will just go ahead, roll back. Keeping himself safe.
I'm just going to rewind this. I'm going to let this whole thing play out first for you guys. And then
we'll be sticking through this, so they will charge out. Taimu is
then I'll bring it back.
Roadhog.
Hey, you can do a lot with the Hog against the Hammond. You can, of course, just simply grab him, prevent him from being mobile.
So get the Goat's adaptation here. Not going to be seeing that Brigade coming through. Pile driver coming down from Fate. Getting too much done with that. Getting zapped down below half HP. He will just go ahead, roll back. Keeping himself safe. Point getting ready to unlock in 6 seconds. Right now it's going to be Finland who have the inside track. But LeBron tries to open things up. Chance going to be taken down. Fate dives in. Adaptive shield comes in, but they can shred it right off him, so he has to roll back to safety. Ragging down below half, however, as LeBron has this great back angle coming in. Just chunking them out from behind. Carpe traded out. Taimu now going down. South Korea looking for this initial cap, and it seems like they'll be able to get it.
So well played by Fate. Comes in to re-engage on the point.
Okay, let's go back to the start. This is my favorite push of this entire Lijiang map by either team. It's just so perfectly executed by South Korea.
Gonna be seeing that brigade coming.
Sorry, I'm still getting used to this.
The Roadhog.
Okay.
Hey, you can do a lot with the Hog against the Hammond. You can, of course, just simply
Brigade coming through. Seeing that brigade coming through. Seeing that brigade coming through. Mile driver coming down from Fate.
So you can see
Getting
here.
Too much done with that. Getting zapped.
Okay. So Finland has established themselves on point here, obviously. And look how South Korea is playing this. They know that this is a death ball comp. They don't want to get anywhere near that in brawling range. And they don't want to stay there for long. You saw Wrecking Ball swing out just as quickly as he swung in. But you've got Jonak set up over here, peeking Lion. You've got Carpe trying to get an angle here through the main gates. And you've got the Pharmacy over here. Now, Arc is completely pocketing Libero over here. He's not even within line of sight of anyone over here. So what's key is that South Korea's tanks here take care to not get shot, to not take a lot of damage. Because their only healer over here is Jonak on the Zenyatta. So he's the only person available to top him off. Because Arc is pocketing the Pharah completely. This accomplishes two things. Number one, it allows Libero to get a ton of ultimate charge. Because he's uncontested by anyone from within there. He's just firing rockets in from outside. And it also allows Zenyatta to build up a bit of his own charge, because he is solely responsible for healing up the poke damage that Myxo and Fate take here. And so South Korea is being extremely patient here. They're not going to go into that point unless there's an opening that they can exploit. And there are two things that they're looking for. They're either looking for Carpe to get a headshot onto one of the supports, or they're hoping to get a damage boosted Pharah rocket onto one of the supports. And a damage boosted Pharah rocket on a discorded target will do 203 damage, which is enough to one-shot either the Lucio or the Moira. So Jonak is going to do his best to make sure that he gets that discord on one of those two targets. Let's let it play out. So you could just see how careful the tanks are for South Korea. And there it is.
Now it's going to be Finland who have the inside track. Keeping himself safe.
You see the discord on Moira right there.
Unlock in 6 seconds.
And the direct rocket from Libero. And the second that direct rocket lands, here comes South Korea's tanks.
Shield comes in, but they just shred it right off him, so he has to roll back to safety. Ragging down below half, however.
And this is also well positioned by the Mercy here. So Mercy doesn't want to go into point here, because if she does, she's just going to be instantly sped into and destroyed, hooked. But what she's able to do is she's able to hover outside with her Pharah, and then she can put in beams through the window here, so that the tanks that dove in, Wrecking Ball and D.Va, they're still going to get support from Mercy here, despite Mercy not being within range of any of Finland's Death Ball characters. So they got the discord on the right target, they landed the boosted Pharah rocket, and then the follow-up from Fate and Myxo was extremely quick, and Finland had no way of countering that, especially with their main tank healer taken out.
Coming in, just chunking them out from behind. HB Carpe traded out. Taimu now going down. South Korea looking for this initial cap, and it seems like they'll be able to get it.
So well played by Fate. Comes in to re-engage on the point right before it unlocks, right before the capture can complete. The comp that Finland is running, it's
And look how
quad,
fast
it's not goats, it's 4 tanks, 2
they already have a barrage. Because they were able to keep their Mercy 100% dedicated to their Pharah, and because these are such large, easy targets that are all just clumped together, Pharah's just cranking out the damage. So she already has barrage, and Finland should know that she already has barrage for the next fight. They know that that's something they have to look out for coming in. So let's skip forward to the next fight.
2 supports, very difficult to break, especially with the sustainability of the Roadhog, but he comes in, disrupts, gives space for Libero to do that extra damage. Now he's holding on to this barrage, he's got a good angle.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead, drops this one down. Defense Matrix is there, however. Charge up into the air, and Libero will get taken down. Lynx are finding the killing blow. Fragging.
So right here, things are going exactly the way that Finland wants them to go.
Do that extra damage.
They stick together, grouped up here, coming in together.
He's holding on to this.
They spy the Pharah. They know that it's coming in for
Yeah,
barrage.
he's going to go ahead, drops this one down. Defense Matrix is there, however.
The barrage was not the best barrage in terms of positioning from Libero here. He was just looking to get a pick on, I think he was aiming at Lucio
Extra damage. Now he's holding
specifically.
on to this barrage. He's got a good angle.
Yeah, looks like he's really just trying to get that quick kill on Lucio, and if he does it quick enough, he can take him down before the counter can come through.
Yeah, he's going to go ahead, drops this one down. Defense Matrix is there.
Counter comes through.
Charge up into the air, and Libero will get taken down. Lynx are finding the
Libero
killing.
gets taken down, and now here we have a clear advantage for Finland. Mercy doesn't have the res, used it recently in the last fight to get Carpe back up, who got picked during the cleanup. And you've got your death ball right here. So they're going to all kind of like retreat around this corner to heal up. Some people call this HQing. This is like kind of the point where they can get out of line of sight of things, regroup, top off, wait for cooldowns. In the meantime, Taimu's Roadhog is like, I've got E, I can keep myself topped up. There's no one on point for South Korea, so he's just going to walk right in there and begin to apply point pressure. And this point pressure is going to hopefully open up an opportunity for the speed to come in.
Killing blow. Fragging. Still going to be swinging around.
So the timely pile drive from Wrecking Ball gets the DMEC on Zappis here before they're able to heal up post barrage.
Around.
But it's not the worst thing in the world per se.
That minefield ready to roll, but now Shaz's going to be taken out. Carpe finding that hit. Zappis has been knocked out.
But that is.
Here's the minefield. That's just going to go ahead.
This is a poor rotation on the part of Finland, and it exposes their Moira and their Lucio to a Widowmaker that you do not want to be exposed to.
The killing blow. Fragging. Still going to be swinging around.
So Fraggy's desperate, quickly trying to get to point. So now Shaz is already down. I'm trying to see if I can follow the Tracer on the Widowmaker shot. So she's shooting from up here. Okay.
Fragging. Still going to be swinging around. Pile driver comes in.
And then that as she turns the corner, I think you can see the start of the Tracer round right there. Yep. So main point being that this is a sloppy rotation, and Finland gives up the advantage that they got by picking the barraging Pharah, by not rotating in a way that protects their healers. So you can see Fraggy go first, he drops shield, gets inside. You can see Linkser and Zarya coming in right behind him. And that forces Moira and Lucio to trail around this corner, completely unprotected from Carpe's Widow, who's got high ground sightline position here. And the Roadhog is there on point, so he can't body block for any of them. So a couple things could have been played differently here. Either they go back around that corner further and regroup and let that Reinhardt shield recharge a little bit more, so that when they come back out and over, Fraggy can keep that shield up the entire rotation. Or they just decide to go the other way to point. Because all of South Korea is here, especially the Widowmaker that they're concerned about. There's nothing stopping them from using the Lucio speed to go on to point this way and avoid some of the unnecessary damage. But they don't, and the tanks are taken care of, the D.Va's demeched, the Roadhog is on point, Reinhardt and Zarya are ahead of their healers, and the trailing healers get picked off.
Got that minefield ready to roll, but now Shaz's going to be taken out. Carpe finding that hit. Zapdos has been knocked out
And
of
once
the
those healers are down,
that's just going to go ahead, drop down the mine. Self-destruct is in. Fraggy's going to get the barrier up.
it's
We'll be able to
pretty
do so.
much a lost
Denies
fight.
the remech. But Jonex here, he's got the Transcendence.
It's a
gonna be
reset.
South Korea maintaining control of the point.
That's going to be a reset here coming in from
Transcendence will be able to do so. Denies the remech. Drop down the mine. Carpe,
But here's the thing, is that this fight,
got that minefield ready
despite
to roll. Now Shaz's gonna be taken out.
the
Carpe
quick
finding
picks
that
on
hit.
their
Zapdos has
healers,
been knocked out of the mech.
this fight could have gone a lot
That's just gonna
worse
go ahead, drop down the mine. Self-destruct is
for Finland, because they managed to force a lot of ultimates out of South Korea that South Korea did not need in order to maintain this point. So we already used walls and barrage to start off the fight.
Mile driver comes in from Fate. Got that minefield ready
And then, so there's the pick on Moira, so that should have already registered.
to roll. But now
And now the tanks are going into point. The Moira is dead. Arc is going to pop Valkyr to keep up with the diving tanks, because Arc is way over here, and the tanks are going into point with speed, Hamster swinging in, Myxo diving. Fraggy's going to get a cheeky pin on Myxo here. But already at this point, South Korea has invested 3 ultimates. And because of Carpe's pick on the Moira, none of these ultimates that they use from here on out are really necessary. But we're going to see Wrecking Ball swing in and drop the minefield to zone out these tanks. But again, these tanks had no healing at all. The minefield was a little extraneous. And Myxo is going to get pinned and use his self-destruct in order to remech, but gets taken out before the remech. So even though South Korea maintains full control of the point, it took them 5 ultimates to do so. And I think that it was probably just... my guess is that the picks from Carpe didn't register before the other people in South Korea had already committed to using these certain ultimates. Fate was probably already swinging in, pressing Q by the time that he realized here that Moira had been picked, and certainly didn't have time to register the Lucio pick before he popped the minefield. So that would have been 4 ultimates, and then Myxo here is just going to use his ultimate to try and remech.
Just gonna go ahead, drop down the mine, self-destruct is in.
But it's something that he could have saved.
Will be able to do so.
The fight was already won.
But Jonex here, he's got the Transcendence, and it's going to be South Korea maintaining control over the point.
That's going to be a reset here.
But for whatever reason that South Korea has for mismanaging their ultimate resources there, the main point is that Finland should be pretty happy with that push. Insofar as they did not use any ultimates other than Roadhog. If you go back and watch Tamu use his whole hog to try and clear the minefield. But they're going to enter the next fight with an ultimate advantage. They're going to have Moira ult, they're going to have Shatter, Grav, Beat very soon, Diva relatively soon, and the only person who has ultimate on South Korea is Jonex Transcendence, and no one else is particularly close. So Finland should be able to leverage their ultimate advantage here for a quick retake. South Korea, of course, is going to be is going to enter the next fight knowing that they're at an ultimate disadvantage. So it's going to be interesting to see how they choose to play this fight, knowing that they don't have those same resources available.
As you know, if this one fails, then South Korea is going to have a massive advantage. Now, remember, Myxo is playing this Diva, so they're not running a Diva-less composition. That means that this can be absorbed, what Linkser is trying to set up here on the Zarya. Fraggy can shut that down with a Shatter to open it to prevent the defense strategies from being used.
I think they're looking to just maybe push straight up the front door here. Fate pushing forward, trying to disrupt. Charge Fraggy, just getting him.
Okay, so this time, Finland manages to get all 6 teammates onto the point a lot faster than before, and without leaving their healers trailing and getting picked off. I think that if we go back, I think that the speed boost comes in, and I think that Zappis here eats a bulk of that damage. Yeah, he almost gets demexed there. So that's really well played by Finland. That's exactly what they want. They got their death ball right to the point. Quick point pressure with all 6. It's going to rapidly flip the point. And they didn't need to use any ultimates in order to get that.
Pushing forward, trying to disrupt. Charge Fraggy, just getting himself in onto the point. They want that inside track. They nearly have to flip.
So it's hard to see here how exactly Fate gets picked off.
Pushing forward, trying to disrupt. Charge Fraggy, just getting himself in onto the point. They want that inside track. They nearly.
It looks like it's all off screen over here. But he obviously follows the death ball in. Myxo tries to come in behind him. It could have been a Roadhog hook onto Fate with an immediate blow up by the Diva, Zarya, Roadhog. Lucio lands the final blow. But this is perfect
in their favor
for Finland. They use the Coalesce when the dive tanks for South Korea come in to provide that little bit of extra sustain and turn this into an easy turn.
Fate's gonna get taken down. Big Goose finds the right click to go ahead and finish him off. Coalescence out from Shaz.
Look how quick South Korea is to retreat. They don't panic that the point has flipped and that Fate is dead, and they don't say like, oh, we have to go to point, they're gonna flip point. They don't really care. Myxo is just like, oh, I'm out. They know that Fate's gonna come back in a split second because Wrecking Ball is the fastest tank. And so they're just gonna let them have that point for a couple %. Wait until they can regroup and then address the point again.
Still getting a couple rocket tags in. Fraggy wants to keep himself alive.
Good play by South Korea here to disengage.
So there he
but
is.
this
He's already back. And they actually regrouped and got the wrecking ball back so fast that Finland wasn't even able to really regroup themselves to top everyone else off and to think about how to defend. I have a gripe here because I noticed that Zarya for
But likely just going to be kiting right
Finland
back
Zarya
because Libero still getting a couple rock
is at half health here. You can see here, and is outside of the point.
rocket tags in. Fraggy wants to keep himself alive.
Does
Good
not
play
get
by
healed.
South Korea here to disengage, but this
Gets
is
bubbled there,
exactly what you want if you're Finland.
but the heal doesn't come through. I think Myxo here is in a bad position because he's not within optimal healing range of the Moira or the Lucio. What he's doing out there I don't understand per se, and why the healers aren't really to get to him to support him properly I also don't understand. I timed this and wrote down on my notes that he sits at that amount of HP for 6 seconds, and then is promptly picked off
Good play by South Korea here to disengage, but this
by
is
Jonak, a boosted Jonak. And now, having just taken the point, they are all of a sudden down their Zarya and their most important ultimate. Let's just see how this plays out, and then I'll run it back.
exactly what you want if you're Finland.
Oh, now they're going
look at
back
the
in.
predetermined
That's going to be the
shatter.
shatter coming in, looking for fate. The pin comes down, but he's still going to be healthy. They're just hopping him up. Kirby comes up with 2. He gets rid of both of the supports. Now it's going to be a push forward. Jonah can burn that transcendence. And they're looking to flip this one right back over into their favor. 25% here as it starts ticking up. South Korea just wresting control straight back.
Okay. South Korea manages to take back this point, investing only one ultimate against a beat, against a Diva Bomb, against an Earth Shatter, and against a Grav.
Getting a couple rocket tags.
So the pick on Zarya
Tags in.
being out of position
Good play by South Korea
was
here
huge.
to disengage, but this is exactly.
But this is where the point really starts to flip. The Moira and Lucio are up there. They were definitely trying to get to the Zarya. And here comes the pile drive from Fate. And Fraggy's just going to be like, I'm just going to shatter you.
That's going to be the shatter coming in, looking for.
But what happened? Just like that, Widowmaker takes out both healers again in a split second. Because if you look on this pile drive,
But this is exactly what you want if you're Finland.
up in the air goes Moira, and off screen, I believe, up in the air goes Lucio. So in trying to counter the Wrecking Ball with this Shatter, he doesn't protect his team against the pile drive, and he doesn't shield the team.
Now they're going back in. That's going to be the shatter coming in, looking for fate.
And
The pin comes
that
down.
gives
They're
Carpe
still gonna be healthy. They're just hopping him up.
really,
Comes
really
up with 2.
clean
He gets rid of both
shots
of the supports. Now it's going to be a put down,
on the
but he's still
supports.
gonna-
You're Finland.
Oh, now they're going back in. That's going to be the shatter coming in, looking for fate. The pin
Jonak
comes
follows
down,
in with
but
the
he's still gonna be
Transcendence.
healthy.
That's the
They're
one
just hopping him
ultimate.
up. Kirby
That's
comes up
just
with 2. He gets rid of both of the supports.
get in and
Now
keep
it's
his
gonna be
diving
a push
tanks
forward.
up.
Jonak can burn that transcendence, and they're looking to flip this one right back over into their favor. 25%.
And we'll watch the
here.
replay
As it
from
starts
Carpe's
ticking
point of
up,
view
South
in a
Korea
second.
Just wresting control straight back out of the hands of Finland.
And both times.
But it's really how just small little like split second mistakes by Finland just swing the advantage so far in South Korea's favor that they only need one ultimate to retake this point against Finland's much larger ultimate bank. The poorly positioned Zarya that forced the healers up, and then when Wrecking Ball came in and pile drived, the Reinhardt was not able to block for his healers, and either block the pile drive itself, or to keep his shield in front of his healers that had been popped up. He shatters to try and take out the Wrecking Ball there, and just like that, it's a flipped fight. The rest is just cleanup. So let's watch it from a Carpe's
South
point
Korea
of
has
view
taken
here.
control of the point. It's been off of an engage from Fate with the pile driver. This time, of course, he was shattered immediately. Froggy predicted exactly where he was going to go down.
So, yep, here you can see Zarya is way out of position. She's not on the point. She's not within, she may be just barely within healing range for Lucio, but it's Lucio. She's not in healing range of Moira right here. She has a Pharah shooting here. She has a Widow shooting straight on here. And she has the boosted Jonak shooting orbs there. There's absolutely no way that she survives in that position. My guess is that based on the little bit I saw in the last clip is that she was just trying to lay down some fire, keep her her energy up. She bubbled right before she died. But she already had Grav. There really wasn't a need for Zarya to be so separate from the rest of the Death Ball. This is exactly what South Korea wants, is to separate the Death Ball. So down goes the Zarya.
Kill him. Yeah, and now look at this.
And there's the pile drive. So the Earth Shatter has already come out. Where'd my pencil go? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Why is it so thick? That's better. So there you can see Fraggy has completely turned. Pile drive came in, knocking up Moira, and knocking up Lucio. You've got the Reinhardt only paying attention to the shattered target here. And this is a Widowmaker's favorite thing. Targets in the air that have a predictable movement. Nothing in front of them, body blocking, no shield, and it's just easy pickings.
This, when the shatter comes in, Carpe just has them all lined up.
Yeah, perfect.
So that was the third fight, I believe. Fourth fight.
Straight up into the air. Now live.
Just going to my notes here. So the start of the fight is a little bit cut out thanks to this
Carpe
replay
just has
here.
them all lined up.
But from what I can tell,
Yeah, perfect.
you've got, so we don't actually see this happen, but just based on the ultimate charges, this is what I'm guessing happened. Finland was entering the fight having beat Self-Destruct, 90 on Roadhog, and their Grav. South Korea was entering the fight having Minefield, Self-Destruct, and Barrage. So still slight ultimate favor for Finland, but not anywhere near as bad as it was in the previous fight, thanks to South Korea being able to retake only with the trans. So Finland is again pushing into point through this pathway here, coming through and in. What I think happened before or during the replay that cut out the start of this fight is that Fate laid down his minefield here because he knew that they were just speeding in, and Big Goose pops his beat to keep the team alive through the minefield and to point, so that they can get onto point safely, and they don't have to worry about the minefield on point there. It looks like Big Goose also ate a good bit of the minefield himself. You can see the shields there for the rest of his team still present. His are already gone.
Perfect, straight up into the air. Now Libero has this barrage at 83%.
And that allows the knockback ability, knockaround ability of Wrecking Ball to hit him into that last mine without those shields, and now he's down. So before Finland can even really get on point, they've lost their Lucio and his ultimate.
The minefield from Fate actually takes down Big Goose. That is a huge detriment here.
But here's the grab.
Graviton Surge pinned in onto the wall, however, as they try to get control back. Self-destruct going to be coming down, but Myxo is taken out. Shot from Carpe finds Slinkser. It's another headshot, but we'll have to go ahead and peel back as the tanks are hot on his heels. Whole hog from Taimu does manage to take down the hamster, but it's not going to be an
So Finland manages to get this point,
never mind. I was going to say,
courtesy of their grab, which was well placed. However, I think they over ulted this fight. They knew that the barrage was going to come in, so they tossed the grab towards the Pharah and the whole hog.
83%. The minefield from Fate actually takes down Big Goose. That is a huge detriment.
Libero shows good patience by not popping his barrage. So here you can see the grab has come out. The whole hog has come out.
Detriment here.
But they also launched that Diva Bomb. You can see kind of coming here. So here's the whole hog, grab, and Zappos is going to launch his Diva Bomb there.
To the finished roster. Graviton Surge pinned in onto the wall, however, as they try.
And the Diva Bomb ends up exploding out here, just not getting anyone at all. The whole hog gets Pharah. The Baby Diva is shooting Ark, who was in the grab.
Finish roster.
So these were already grabbed and being taken care of. That self-destruct was not necessary, and it didn't even land in a place that was threatening anyone else on South Korea. So even though Finland is able to retake the point, they've now invested barrier, sound barrier, whole hog, graviton surge, and Diva Bomb, 4 ults of their own to retake this point. When really only the 3 were necessary.
Roll back. Self-destruct going to be coming down, but Myxo is taken out. Shot from Carpe finds Slinkser.
And that's a nice headshot by Carpe to get that Zarya.
Hamster, but it's not going to be nice hook in. I was going to say, never mind. I was going to say there's not much to follow up on that. No staggers, but they get Carpe, so that's good.
So can South Korea pile drive into another run by from Carpe again? Not if they can't get onto the point. I love that Finland.
So I like this this right here. Finland pushes up a little bit with their speed boost to try and get a Roadhog pick on someone who's regrouping. You can see Taimu come in looking for a pick. They don't get it, so they fall back because they are down their Zarya. I really like that play. I like the heads up play of knowing that the rest of, so there's Jonak right there. They know that South Korea is retreating. Their Lucio's back. They've got 5 people.
No staggers, but they get Carpe, so that's good.
So can South
And if
Korea pile
they get up there and they get a good hook,
not if they can't get onto the
then that's another 10-15 seconds before the next push.
Off now, as long as they don't get too stacked up, the pile driver's not going to allow Carpe to make that happen again. He leads with his infra sight, so he knows where everyone's position right now is.
Okay, now here comes the last fight. As we talked about, Finland used 4 ultimates to retake this point. South Korea enters this fight with 3 in the bank, almost 4. They pop the sights to know where people are. They've got Transcendence, they've got Barrage, and they've got almost Valkyrie. I just want to go back and highlight this for Pharah players, actually. You could tell that Libero was looking for this Barrage, because he had it for the last fight. If this will go. He's coming through this window, looking to Barrage.
Perfect, straight up into the air. Now
That's a common
Libero has this Barrage.
place for Pharah to come in. Relatively, like, shielded a little bit by the architecture of the point. Above the fray, so he gets in there without being noticed. And right there, like, he would, like, so the fact that he hasn't barraged here, I think, is just, it shows remarkable patience. And you can see that Linkster caught the Pharah kind of coming in there. Pharah was definitely looking for that barrage, and Linkster knew it, and that's why the Graviton Surge, I think, went out towards them.
Huge detriment here.
Towards the pharmacy.
Roster. Graviton Surge pinned in
They
on the
threw
wall,
a lot,
however,
but
they try to get control back.
the heads up play by Libero to hold that barrage is going to make the next fight
South Korea pile drive into another run by from Carpe again. Not if they
a
can't
lot
get onto the point.
easier,
I love
as
that
you'll
Finland's
see.
playing aggressively forward here into this choke, looking for picks, backing off now. As long as they don't get too stacked up, the pile driver's not going to allow Carpe to make that happen again. He leads with his Infrasight, so he knows where everyone's position right now. He's trying to spot for Fate. The Infrasight's going to allow Fate to know where he wants to pile drive in when he engages. Here it comes.
Yep. Looking for it. Drop.
Okay, so there, Fraggy learned his lesson, right?
Know where he wants to pile drive in.
He's spying that Wrecking Ball.
When he engages.
In comes the Wrecking Ball. Hog misses the hook, which is one of the counters to this pile drive.
Engage. Here it comes.
Yep. Yep. Looking
But rather than try and line up a charge,
for it.
he gets his shield up. And having that shield up keeps everyone behind the shield from getting knocked up in the air. And this is, so after his supports got knocked up in the air and taken out by Carpe before, he adapted and knew that he had to shield the Wrecking Ball slam this time. And fortunately, Lucio gets behind his shield just in time here. Watch this.
When he engages, here it comes.
It's like, if this is the pile drive coming down, there's no way that you think that Lucio's going to be safe.
Yep.
But he knows that he has to get behind that shield too.
Looking for it. Drop.
And he manages to
Drops
lead.
it down now, but he's already chunked out. Right click's doing a lot of damage here from Taimu. Libero pushing forward, the barrier's up, and he's not really getting any damage in, but finally the shield goes down and Fraggy will fall along with it, as does the mech here from Zappis. Libero cleaning up house, getting rid of those tanks in South Korea, tries to get the flip back in for the win. 95%, they'll get it, they start moving forward, and now Finland, they start getting blood dry. Shaz and Lynx are both
I just
going
wanted to
ball.
let this play out before I point. This was super smart by South Korea.
In when he engages.
So here comes this slam. Right here, they're going to know that, South Korea is going to know that Roadhog's hook is on cooldown.
Here it comes.
And this is important because
Drops it down now.
Fate's going to get taken out, and Jonak's going to pop his Transcendence, ostensibly to keep Fate alive, but it's actually for a more important purpose.
He's already chunked out. Right click's doing a lot of damage.
In comes Libero on the Pharah. So he uses the Concussive Blast to come in from a distance and get into the barrage position in the Transcendence, low and close.
Right click's doing a lot of damage here from Taimu. Libero pushing forward, the barrier's up, and he's not.
And because the Hog hook is on cooldown, there's nothing else that's going to be able to counter the Pharah, who is getting pocketed by the Mercy and in the middle of the Transcendence. Diva can only matrix so much. Flying at Pharah and trying to force the barrage to kill herself isn't going to work because there's too much healing between Mercy and the Transcendence. The only thing that would have stopped this is having that hook ready to go and just yank her out of the sky. But because they don't have that, because we saw the Hog try and hook the Wrecking Ball, this is a free barrage, fully supported by 2 support ultimates.
He's not really getting any damage in, but finally the shield goes down to Fraggy.
And it just chews through the remainder of the shield, chews through Diva Mech and Diva herself, and then the rest is just a cleanup.
They'll get it, they start moving forward, and now Finland, they start getting blood dry. Shaz and Lynx are both going to fall. No one really to tag back in as Big Goose goes down. Can't really buy time. With that, Lucio and Fraggy is eliminated. And that should just be Big Goose goes down.
But it's just an exceptionally heads-up play to wait for that to recognize that the Hog hook is out. Because if Hog has his hook,
looking for it, drops it down now, but he's already
and Hog hooks the Pharah,
right click's doing a lot of damage here from time.
Here's Taimu here. If he was able to get that hook off, then Pharah's going to be hooked out of the Transcendence. None of this damage is going to get through. And everyone else is going to survive. It's going to be a 6-on-5 in favor of Finland, if that hook is there, because they know it's on cooldown. They have the duration of that hook cooldown to get this barrage trans out there.
Pushing forward, the barrier's up, and he's not really getting any damage in, but finally the shield goes down to Fraggy.
And I think that it's also important to recognize that, you know, it's commonly like discussed on Overwatch teams, like a basic way of managing your ultimate economy is to look at what you have and kind of pick 2 ultimates to roll with for the fight. And generally we think of ultimates being used in tandem. We think about Grav Dragon. We think about Nano Blade. We think about a Shatter Bomb, or an EMP Bomb, or an EMP Shatter. But South Korea just, they display, they know that they're at 95. They know that they just need to win one fight, and it's theirs. So there's no real reason for them to economize their ultimates if they know that this combination of 3 ultimates is going to win them the fight for sure. Now, if they weren't as good of players as they are, if they didn't know to wait for the Hog hook cooldown, if they didn't know how to get in position very quickly to pull this off, then it wouldn't have worked, and they would have invested 3 ultimates for no kills. Finland would likely have retained control, and that may have been the fight. Even if they get a recontest, it's going to be 99 to 95, and the ult advantage would be in favor of Finland. But they use 3 because they know they can, and I know that at least on my own teams, or my own team rather, you know, I often play the Pharah for my team, and but we haven't really been able to coordinate an effective trans barrage to use this offensively, and to use the boost from Mercy to just like, it's not going to matter what, it's not going to matter that there's a Diva that's still up, it's not going to matter that there's a Rhine Shield still up, it's not going to matter that there is Zarya bubbles, because these 3 combined are just overwhelming. And the trans barrage in particular, even without the Mercy Valkyne, is very deadly, because it's able to get you into a close range where that barrage will deal a ridiculous amount of damage in such a short time that it can't really be countered particularly fast. So I just note that on my own team I want to be able to coordinate the ultimates of these 3 heroes right here to win a fight. because the synergy is just overwhelming, particularly against, you know, this big goats comp where your Pharah is going to be building that barrage super fast. Anyway, I digress. But that combination wins them the fight. From there, it's just cleanup, minefield, stop any stall,
they start moving forward, and now Finland is not getting
and
blood
it's
dry.
over.
Shaz and Lynx are both going to fall. No one really to tag back in as Big Goose goes down. Can't really buy time. With that, Lucio and Fraggy is eliminated. And that should just be a very tight-knit round here on Night Market going the way of South Korea.
So I wrote down a couple of key points that I thought I saw over the course of this map. I thought that South Korea displayed remarkable patience that allowed them to remain outside of the range of Finland's death ball, and allowed them to wait for the perfect opportunity to strike, as exemplified by the first push in particular, where they hid their Wrecking Ball and their Diva out here. They had their Widowmaker and their Zen peeking from Lion. They had their Mercy and Pharah going in here. They get the Discord, they get the direct hit, and the fight's over. But it's the patience of just being able to sit out here and wait for that play to develop. That patience right there is like where it all starts, because it allows the tanks to be at full health from his solo Zenyatta healer by the time that dive came in. So that's one of the key points, and everything kind of spiraled from that first point. There were some poor rotations by Finland that left their healers vulnerable. The Widowmaker was virtually unchallenged all map. And that's a risk that Finland was willing to take, because they were betting on their ability to get their 4 tanks on point and in front of their healers, so that the Widow wasn't going to have any angles to take those good shots. They were just going to block out these sight lines. They didn't need to challenge the Widow, they just needed to block the Widow. But there were some sloppy rotations that left their healers open, and you cannot leave your healers open against Carpe. There was also the where Reinhardt used that Earth Shatter to counter Fate's pile driver that popped up the healers, and that's just a shooting gallery. And it's both of those pushes, it's like it was like clockwork. Like Carpe got one, and a split second later got the other healer. The Pharah was also unchallenged. Which is again a risk that Finland was willing to take. They were going to rely on their large health pools and their group healing to sustain against the Pharah. But that's a little bit harder to do in the quad tank composition than it is in the traditional GOATS composition, which would run the Brigitte in place of the Roadhog. The Roadhog can sustain himself, which is great, but the Brigitte offers more group sustain, can toss out those armor packs, and the Rally Ultimate, giving everyone armor on top. It's just a lot easier to soak the Pharah damage with the traditional GOATs than with the quad tank. So the Pharah being unchallenged here hurt a lot more than it perhaps would have in the traditional GOATs composition. Let's see, I'm looking at my notes to see the other key points I wrote down. The initiations by South Korea from their tanks were perfectly timed. They were so in sync, having the Wrecking Ball drop the pile driver at the same time as Mecha was coming in on Diva. They knew when to get out, and they knew when to initiate. And everything was so tightly timed with with the other teammates, like with the Pharah. Like in that first fight when we saw that Pharah pick come in, and in no time at all, the tanks had initiated the main phase of the fight. So just the timing of those initiations, it forces Finland to make mistakes. It doesn't give them that half a second, 1 second, couple seconds to recover from being out of position or to rotate after someone gets picked off, etc. So well done to Fate and Myxo for their tank initiations. And that's all for this particular fight. I wrote a lot more details down in my notes, so which will accompany this video. So take a look there. In the meantime, however,
South Korea.
let's roll to
We
control set.
questioned his ability to play Reinhardt here. We knew that this map would likely be compositionally, from the meta we understand to be, the meta we've been watching throughout contenders globally, right, on this patch, on Lijiang Tower, most teams are playing...
Hang on. One more point quick about this is that despite South Korea seeming to just take these fights with relative ease each time, when they either took the point first or when they retook the point, it felt like it was just not even a challenge. Like, when they used that one ultimate. But despite how easy it felt for South Korea, it was still 100 to 76 is the final one. And Finland was able to do almost exactly what they wanted. I think that if that shield is there on that one pile driver to protect against the Widow, or they have a tighter rotation on that one and don't leave their Lucio or Moira trailing behind, I think those two small things alone are worth 25% here. It is by virtue of South Korea being as talented as they are, having a Widowmaker who's capable of punishing the slightest mistakes, that they're able to run this comp to great effect against this kind of meta quad tank goats variation. But again, if Finland just tightened up those two slight mistakes, or if they did this against a team that had a Widowmaker that was not as good as Carpe, it very well could have been their map.
His big
Okay,
goose goes down.
on to
Can't
control
really
center.
buy time.
Globally, right, on this patch, on Lijiang Tower, most teams are playing this map, as we just saw Finland do. But South Korea broke the mold. They put Fate onto that wrecking ball, and he was able to engage and retake the point multiple times with big pile drive.